What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter video. In today's video, we are going to be checking out this video made by MS Swooker. Every time that I react to your videos, I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong. But I believe you said I did say that. I was saying that right. But anyways, he made this video. It is called Monster Hunter is finally bringing this back. And just looking at that title alone, I have no idea what to expect. So it's really reeled me in, and I want to take a peek at this video. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Monster Hunter is one of my favorite series of all time, and
As it should be.
Played it, I did so on the 3DS, a relatively small.
The first time that I played it was on the Switch, or not the Switch, the Wii U. I got those mixed up in my head. So it was whenever Monster Hunter Tri came out, and I just absolutely fell in love with the game. They did so well. I mean, it was just one of a kind at that time. You just had your hunter, you could pick all these weapons, you're in this world, you don't even know what's really going on, but somehow it just like really reeled me in.
Handheld console that you could pretty easily take anywhere. Since 2014 though, this series has absolutely exploded. World and
True.
Rise are the two most popular entries, and it's not even.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. I believe it though. I believe it though. Like I said, I started here with this Monster Hunter 3, and then Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. This is where I started. And out of all of these that I've played, I think it's just this and Generations. I haven't played the other ones. I have not played anything that was on the DS, or I think there's one that was on the PSP. I think that was Freedom Unite or Frontier or something. I don't know. No, this one, Portable Third. I think it's that one. Never played it. So I've only played Tri, Generations, World, and Sunbreak. And damn, that's all I really needed.
Even close. I absolutely love both of these games, but I do sometimes miss those days where I'd pull my 3DS out of my pocket and quickly hunt a couple monsters during lunch break in high school.
It makes sense.
When I received an email asking if I wanted to make a video about a new Monster Hunter game coming to mobile that aimed to capture the spirit of this iconic series, I didn't think twice.
All in.
Thanks to Monster Hunter Outlanders, co-developed by Timmy and Capcom, for sponsoring this video. Monster Hunter Outlanders is being developed by Timmy Studio Group. It's an MMO mobile version of the Monster Hunter we all know and love, and you may not believe that
it looks so good.
So let's first go over what makes World and Wild special, then we can check the boxes and see if those exist in Outlanders.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
What comes to mind when I think of Monster Hunter is variety. There are so many different ways to play the game. I've told this story before, but when I first played the series in 4U, I spent about 500 hours using exclusively one weapon, but I started to get bored. I had practically mastered the dual blades at this point, having
yeah, I mean, I did the same thing, right? You have the freedom to choose 14 different weapons. And a lot of people just choose one, you know, like you'll hear people say, oh, I'm a longsword main. Sometimes I call myself a switch axe main, but I actually like to play different weapons because sometimes I'll get bored of one. Like right now, I'm kind of in a dilemma. Like I'm kind of bored of the switch axe, so I play a lot of charge blade now. And back in the day, I used to use the sword and shield, like with the underwater fights. In World, I used the great sword. I mean, I've used every single weapon in the game, and I feel like it's just a nice way to play the game.
Most of G rank and made all of the best weapons in the game. I didn't really know what to do next, so out of a bit of desperation, I took a look in my item box, and there it was, the switch axe. This was a weapon
the best weapon. It still is.
I had never used before, and I barely even knew where to begin. But when I entered that first hunt with it, I felt something I hadn't experienced in hundreds of hours. It was that very same feeling that I got when I first played the game with dual blades. This wonderful feeling is a direct result of the depth apparent in Monster Hunter's combat. The switch axe isn't simply a new way to deal damage, it's not just a means to an end. No, it has a specific role, strengths, weaknesses, quirks, and traits that you must memorize and master to fully unlock this weapon's potential.
And it's so different from like every single weapon in the game. Like whenever you think of any fighting game, right? A great sword's going to be a part of it, a sword and shield's going to be a part of it. But the switch axe is like, it's just such a different weapon.
Potential. Now imagine this exact same feeling, but over a dozen different times.
Yep.
This was an idea I fell in love with, and I'm not the only one. I'm willing to bet a large part of why this series is so successful is that depth and variety. If you find
I
yourself
agree.
getting bored with one weapon,
You
can just
switch.
try a new one.
Yeah,
With Monster Hunter
easily.
Generations and its expansion, Generations Ultimate,
Oh my
took this
goodness. GU, so you had 14 weapons in the game, but with GU, it felt like whatever 14 times 4 is. That many weapons, because you had so many different styles. I mean, actually, you can even multiply it way past that. You had so many different styles, like with the hunting arts. You had so many different skills that you can slot in with those too. The variety in GU is just absolutely insane.
idea even further with hunter arts and hunting styles. Now, instead of just having all these weapons to choose from, your options increase exponentially with each of these weapons having access
So
to
crazy.
different styles.
And see, I even counted that number wrong. Here's 6 of them. So 4 times 6, but then again, there's so many other different like arts that you can have with the styles. So let's say you're playing something like a Valor Switch Axe. You're only gonna have these 3 hunting arts here, and you have Demon Right, Energy Charge, Absolute Readiness. You can also have the other dodging one. Then you can have I think it's called a Trance Riot or something like that, which is another skill along that. Dude, it's just crazy. And every weapon is like this. It's insane.
It's thanks to this near overwhelming variety that it's nearly impossible to ever run out of ways to play these games.
Yep.
So we'll make that the first point, variety in combat. Next, we'll talk about something that World introduced and that Wilds is expanding on. When you first land in the ancient forest, you're confronted with these goofy little guys scurrying across the ground, chirping birds in the distance, this wind whistling through the foliage that blankets the entire area. I mean, it's truly an immersive experience.
It is.
But it goes so much further than this. What really made World stand out wasn't...
And there's so many like smaller things that you see that just like you wouldn't typically think of, right? But it just makes sense to be in the game. Like you'll see a plant and then you'll see something flying around it or whatever. Like it's completely irrelevant to like the hunting part of the game, but it makes it feel like you're actually there. And Wild is doing really good with that too, so I'm really excited.
Just its living ecosystem, but its seamless maps. You could go from the base camp to the Rathalos' nest and back without encountering a single loading screen.
Oh, good lord! But I know there's a lot of people out there like me who get lost in the ancient forest. Even now to this day, I have a lot of hours in Monster Hunter World, a lot, and the ancient forest is still the most confusing place in the entire game.
These seamless maps and living worlds came together to create an experience that, for the very first time in the series, felt like you were actually hunting these monsters and not just playing a video game. Wilds then takes this idea up to an 11.
Yeah, and just to backtrack that for a second. So again, I started playing in Monster Hunter 3 and Monster Hunter Tri Ultimate, and even GU too. There's no like guideline or immerse feeling like it was in World, and also what they're portraying in Wilds as well. You start the game, you're like, what the hell do I do? Here's some weapons. You talk to a few people, they say, go do this. You're like, all right, cool. But there's no like direct story or understanding in the game. You just kind of run around and then, obviously you hunt monsters and progress through the game that way, but you don't like, I don't know, it's just not as immersed. Like even on this pause frame here that we see, right? We can just look at the Chotacabra, it's going to the water. Maybe it's just trying to get back in the water to cool down because it's in the desert. And then you have all these little guys who are just running back here, just doing whatever they're doing. And then all these plants make sense to be like desert plants. It's just the world is so like immersed and everything is making sense.
Not only are the areas far larger than they were in World, but they're these active, ever-changing environments.
Yep, exactly.
Storms, thunderstorms, floods, and fires all totally reinvent the battlefield through each and every hunt.
It makes it feel so real.
This dynamic before, and it's one of the most exciting parts of Wilds to me.
I agree.
We'll call that number 2, seamless and dynamic maps. Okay, so what is Monster Hunter Outlanders, and does it actually accomplish these goals? Let's start with that first question. Monster Hunter Outlanders aims to take that core Monster Hunter experience from World and soon Wilds, and add its own personal unique ideas to create an
Yep.
experience that feels fresh while still retaining the identity that made Monster
They've
Hunter
been good
special
at
in
it.
the first place. Even the structure of the game, where you accept quests, hunt a monster, and craft new gear out of these defeated monsters, all remains.
Yep,
The
that's
combat is
good.
similar to the mainline games like World and Rise, with action combat where one or more hunters work together to take down a
Man, it looks so cool. Obviously, these probably aren't like the final graphics or whatever, but it looks really good.
single powerful monster. My biggest concern when I first heard about this game was that it wouldn't feel like Monster Hunter, but just another mobile game. However, after seeing footage of it and hearing what the team has to say about what they're trying to do here, it's clear that they really did pull some magic and somehow squeeze that iconic style down into this smaller format.
Yep.
What's even more impressive here, though, isn't simply the fact that they're trying to take Monster Hunter and shrink it down to mobile. They're trying to take things a step further than that. It would have been easy to take what the series was, add in loading screens, shrink the areas, simplify the combat, and just call it Monster Hunter Mobile. But again, that's not what they did. Let's start with the combat. As I mentioned before, it's similar to mainline Monster Hunter's combat.
Yep.
Check this out. What you're looking at right now is the new class system. Thanks to this genetically engineered, lab-grown, most adorable creature of all time, you can
Really adorable. I agree.
take on a new role in combat. Outlanders will introduce a profession system. You can think of these a bit like classes in an RPG. To fully understand why this is such an exciting prospect, let's take a look at one of my favorite combinations of a style and weapon from Generations Ultimate. This may seem off topic, but just stick with me. The principle is the
Got
same.
it.
So in GU, there was a style called Adept, which basically gave you a super dodge that, if timed correctly, let you fly straight through attacks and deliver powerful counters
Which was cool.
that varied depending on your weapon. The Switch Axe, especially before Iceborne, had absolutely abysmal defense.
Yes.
But thanks to the Adept style, you now gain this outstanding evasive ability. When you take this inherently defensive style and mix it with the overwhelming offensive Switch Axe, instead of canceling out, the two end up amplifying each other and
Makes it
making
so
an
much
even more
better.
aggressive version of the
Exactly.
weapon. See, if you don't have to worry about preservation, you can instead
And that's why I loved the Monster Hunter Rise version of the Switch Axe, because it was very offensively sound. Well, okay, let's say Sunbreak, not Rise, because when Sunbreak came around, that's when you got your counter, which made you good defensively as well. So you can not only attack aggressively, you can also be very defensive and then still attack aggressively. Versus in the base game, which was still fun. I mean, you had your switch charger skill where you had your wire bug and it would sling you across. It's still defensive like or evasive in a way, but I think the counter just kind of amplified it.
instead focus the entirety of your energy on an all-out assault. This is why I often say that defensive skills can be just as beneficial to your DPS.
They're huge. They're huge. I mean, I think one of the most important one is evade window, or no, evade extender actually. So you can dodge a little further, make yourself a little safer, and even if you're trying to close in on the monster, you can dodge again. You just roll further, so you can roll further to, you know, close in a lot faster.
Like weakness exploit and crit boost, since your affinity doesn't matter if you're on a cart rolling back to camp. Now
It
here's
doesn't.
where it gets interesting. If you chose to play Striker Switch Axe, you're now in a totally new role. Thanks to
Yep.
the hunter arts provided by Striker, you could be a pure damage dealer with skills like Demon Riot and Trance Slash.
This is almost how I played. I use energy charge, I use Demon Riot, and then I used one of the dodging mechanics. That way I can still, again, be defensively sound, but then also do a crap ton of damage.
Now taken the already hyper-aggressive nature of this weapon and added a hyper-aggressive style onto it, making it, well, even more aggressive.
Yep.
Relating this back to Outlanders, this class system provides us
All right,
with the
reel us back
ability to
in.
not just choose our weapons, but
Yep.
the specific roles we'll have in battle as well. This takes the already incredibly customizable nature of Monster Hunter and adds a new layer of depth to it that's genuinely really exciting to me. I've always loved class systems in games because of this
Me
level
too.
of depth and player
Me
freedom.
too. I think Final Fantasy Tactics is one of the best games in the entire world because they just captured everything very well.
That they provide. You could be a paladin focused purely on protecting your team, a rogue whose primary goal is DPS, or
Yep.
a mage that aims to turn the tide of the entire battle with a single spell. So naturally, when you take this type of system into a game like Monster Hunter, where there's already a tremendous amount of customization, classes only serve to take that to a totally new level.
It
So
does.
as far as combat goes, not only is this game going to be similar to the Monster Hunter games we already know and love, but it'll be adding its own flair that'll allow it to stand on its own.
Which is really cool, right? The combat difference between World and Rise are absolutely crazy. And again, we can even, go back even further. The combos between, or the fighting in GU and World are so different. And then you can even say all three. They're all completely different. But there's things that we see that we like in them. There's things that we see that we don't like in them. And the devs understand this and they see this. So that's why Wilds is like the perfect combination between Rise and World, because one, they're the two most popular games, as he just discussed earlier, but it takes the combat systems, the good of both World and Rise, into the next game.
Now, if you believed these new additions stopped at combat, I wouldn't blame you. But just like how Outlanders plans to add a unique spin to Monster Hunter's combat, it also aims to do the same with the open world. Exploration will be a major focus of Monster Hunter Outlanders, with the player character in this game literally being referred to as an adventurer instead of a normal hunter.
I mean, and that just sounds like Genshin Impact, where I forgot what you're called in the game. I don't know, but it's the same, open world concept where you're going around searching things, looking for stuff, which is really cool. I mean, I like Genshin, so if it is anything like that as far as that part, I like it.
That we're used to. Going along with this theme of exploration is the first big addition that Outlanders introduces to the world: crafting and base building. Players will be able to create,
and this is really cool too. This is really cool. So I wonder if like you can bring people into your world, like let's say, there's someone else that I'm playing with, and I can bring them into my world, and then, hey, why don't you come take a look at my base? And I wonder if they'll be able to also craft and stuff too, like to kind of help you out. Kind of like how Lego Fortnite is, right? Damn, I don't know, that sounds pretty fun. It sounds a lot of fun.
Base camps and even hunting installations like Ballistas?
I say Ballista. Personally, I do. I don't know either.
Of course, which means that you'll be able to quickly and easily join other players to hunt, craft, and just hang out. It's kind of nice.
It is.
Just like in World, Rise, and Wilds, there will be no loading screens here. It'll be a totally seamless and open map.
I love it.
In this map, there are multiple different environments.
And like I said before, this game is going to feel different, but it's also going to be nostalgic. And there's going to be a lot of good things that we can probably see in this game that can create the next like big game, how Wilds is, to make that even better, right? So there could be really positive takeaways from this.
You may be reminded of the guiding lands from Iceborne or some of the newer maps from Wilds. Just based on what we've seen, there's a swamp area, a forest, some cliffs, and a desert. There may be even more, but we just haven't seen it yet. This variety is reminiscent of older Monster Hunter maps where you'd begin in a cave, then move to some open plains, then some mountains, then a forest, then you get the idea. It's not just one single theme throughout the entire map, but different environments for the player to explore.
The glider's cool.
My favorite shot from the trailer that demonstrates this idea is right here. The player rockets into the sky and uses the glider to get an aerial view of their surroundings.
You can see so much.
Just from this shot alone, we can see what looks like an active
volcano. It's so cool. I mean, like I just said, I mean, I know I keep saying the open world concept from Genshin just because it's like the most relatable thing, but seeing a shot like this reminds me of Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, actually, to be more exact. When you fly in the air, you can just see everything. And I'm sure in those, just like those games, you could probably go everywhere, right? And there's probably towers that you unlock that are fast travel gates or whatever. I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be really, really good.
On the sides directly in front of us, a higher altitude forest region on a cliff to the right,
and
even a desert to the left.
And you see this monster over there too.
Launches themselves off a catapult and glides off into the distance to.
Yeah, I mentioned in another video, the catapults remind me of Wild Hearts. They just do.
Really hammer home the absolute scale of this world. Remember, this is just one region we're looking at. The full island is multiple times bigger than everything we've seen in this gliding overhead shot, and almost as if to communicate that idea, we're shown a map where you can clearly see that this is the region we were just looking at, and this is everything else.
Yep.
Now, what about
and there may even be more, right? Like we're talking about in this top right corner, or, you know, because it seems like a little faded right here, so maybe this is more area. There's also pages in this book too, so maybe you can turn a page and maybe you get this all over again, but it looks completely different with ice and whatever else.
Really see that this is the region we were just looking at, and this is everything else. Now, what about that living and dynamic part that World is known for? Well, that seems to be here too. If you pause at this point in the trailer, you can see an Anjanath carrying a Jagras, suggesting that there will likely be ecological interactions. There was this feeling in World that the environment existed whether you were there or not, and that seems to be present here
Which is cool.
This Anjanath didn't hunt a Jagras to help out the player or provide an entertaining spectacle. It did so because it was hungry. That's it. In another shot, we've got a Giratotus emerging from the water to ambush its prey, and even Toby climbing a tree while perhaps stalking some Kelby. And with plans to add rain, sandstorms, and even thunderstorms, it looks like this isn't just going to be an adaptation of that open world we've seen in previous games, but an evolution. Hopefully, there will even be events that you can find as you explore, like gliding minigames, small monster rampages, and egg delivery quests.
Not the egg delivery.
This comes together to produce what looks like a truly faithful adaptation of not just the Monster Hunter games we've already experienced, like World, Rise, and Generations, but even the ones we've yet to play, like Wilds. So go check out the official website and social accounts to keep up with any updates on Monster Hunter Outlanders.
Absolutely will do. Man, that was a very, very, very good video. I'm glad I watched this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video too. My thoughts on this game are, I do have a lot of feelings of excitement because, like I said before in the video a little bit earlier, you're going to have this nostalgic feeling, and then you're also going to have this new feeling. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to bring to the table. I'm excited to see just the differences between, you know, maybe there's going to be more monsters that we don't know, the landscapes, and how that's going to work. Maybe there's going to be like a dungeon system. Who knows? But I am really, really excited to see whatever it is that they bring. I'm going to try it. I hope you guys too. Or I hope you guys do too. If you have not followed MS Swooker, again, I think I'm saying that right, make sure you guys sub to his page, and then I will have his name in this video that we just watched linked down in the description, so you guys go check that out. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.